All right, folks, thank you so much for sticking with us here on Live Impact News. Vanessa Rufus here. We want to talk about more of the winter weather impacts we are seeing in our area as we are looking ahead to this weekend, knowing that we're likely going to be dealing with some sort of wintry mix and potentially really just a lot of ice, which is nasty, gross, dangerous. And we know for pets who are being kept outdoors, very dangerous. We know even just a short period of time exposed to freezing elements can really cause issues including hypothermia, frostbite, and other medical conditions. Of course, on that note, we are seeing animal care and various other agencies advising people to bring in their pets so they don't have to deal with this risk. We know that in some cases, unfortunately, folks will not do that, and that's what we bring in here. A local rescue group, Two Girls and Lots of Dogs. And we've got Claire Norris with Two Girls, Lots of Dogs joining us right now. We saw that y'all had posted online about this winter supply drive that you're hoping to do for these chain dogs that might be outside. And I just wanted to get, your take on what you feel like the situation could be for some of these pets that are being kept outside this weekend if their owners aren't going to bring them in.
Totally. So what we do at Two Girls Lots of Dogs every year, we call it Dry January. And I'm sure you've heard of that when it comes to restaurants and going out and that sort of thing. But what we do is provide shelter and straw for the outside dogs that are unable to come inside, or if the owner just doesn't want to bring them inside, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I think, once I started getting involved with animal care volunteering and with animal rescue myself as a volunteer, I feel like I was enlightened to the fact that, as pet owners, a pet owner who keeps my dogs inside and, in some cases they're sleeping in the bed with me or they're very cuddly indoors with me. You don't think that there are so many dogs that are being kept outside, but this is a way of life for some folks. And we also know that depending on which jurisdiction you live in or what municipality you live in, there could be varying rules about what is considered to be an acceptable structure for an animal to live in. And I think that's something
exactly right.
That blew my mind.
Yeah, it's weird because some areas are like there is a tether law and they do such a good job of keeping, that on lock. They don't let dogs be outside on a chain if it's a certain temperature or wind or anything like that. And then some areas it's just like it, I don't think they've ever heard that word ever. So it's like it really varies. So what we're really going to focus on is kind of the outskirts of Charlotte. And at this time, what you can do if you're inside Charlotte is you can also call and do a welfare check. And we know our animal control and care is fantastic, and they will go and check on the dog and make sure and talk to the owner and educate. But more so in some of the areas that are about an hour outside of Charlotte, more of the country, it's not as doable, I should say.
Yeah, so it sounds like y'all have ideas of, where these dogs might be already. Maybe there's certain properties that you've already been keeping an eye on, maybe even building relationships with the pet owner. And I see now like a list of this drive, how folks can help. We actually prepared a graphic to kind of show some of the things that folks can donate. Walk us through what you're looking for and how these items are set to help with your efforts.
Yeah, so with that, just a PSA, we don't accept blankets right now because blankets will get wet from the snow and then they freeze. And then the dog tries to go in their doghouse and they have like this block of ice. So no blankets at this time, but we accept wood chips, hay, straw. That keeps the doghouse insulated. Doghouses in general, you would not believe how many people think a crate. I'm talking like you can put your fingers in it with holes on the top of it, like an indoor crate works as an outdoor shelter. And sometimes they might throw a piece of wood on the top of it, but that doesn't, if it's sideways raining, that doesn't do anything. So we like to update dog houses when we get a chance. And then food. That's the number one kind of complaint when we are connecting with these owners is, things are more expensive, but their animals are still in need. It's like at the end of the week, they just don't have the money for the dog food. So of course they throw the leftover stuff in the refrigerator, but that's just not enough for 2 meals a day for an animal. So mostly straw, wood chips, anything that can be put in a doghouse to stay insulated, but no blankets, and food and treats. And we do take open bags because I know some of like mine and your dogs, Vanessa, they're spoiled rotten, so they're like, oh, I'm just not going to eat this bag. I don't like this food. So any food, open bags of treats, anything like that, we will accept.
Yeah, I'm thinking too, maybe there are some pet owners out there and, sadly, maybe their pet had passed and they do have an open bag of dog food that they didn't get through. I know because I've received such bags of dog food from, friends of mine who said, I can't use this. Can you give this to the shelter? And not every, situation can you accept an open bag of dog food. But I know in a case like this, you're really trying to just make sure that these animals that are out in the cold are getting the sustenance that they need. I did want to ask you too, since it sounds like you have a lot of experience being out there talking with these owners, seeing the conditions that these dogs are living in. What do you think is, the most surprising type of, scenario that you have seen personally that you think folks need to know just what it's like out there for some of these pets?
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of times we will post something and we'll get an influx of direct messages and it's like, these people suck, these are the worst. And that's not always the case. And that was something it took me a while to come around to. I've seen dogs be chained up and kiddos be allergic. Well, if the family's struggling to feed the dogs, they don't have money for Claritin every month. I mean, just things like that. You got to think everything costs money. So it's really easy to sit back and judge. But I will say, kids in the home with allergies, dogs they never wanted, like dogs that ran up on their property, dogs that were in a worse situation, and the people were trying to help, but maybe some aggression. They don't know how to do it. Not everyone has the resources to get with the trainer. So I just think it's really easy to drive by and be like, oh, they're the worst, take those dogs. But sometimes it's not as black and white, and I think working in the gray is what Two Girls Lots of Dogs we do best, because what we push the most is like, talk to the owner. Everyone's like, I don't feel safe. Okay, well, I'm 5'2", so like I don't always feel safe, but most of the time, if you knock on a door and you say, hey, I got this bag of dog food, Amazon delivered 2 to my house, can your baby eat this? They're not gonna get angry. So we just try to tell people to just be kind. You never know what situation someone is in, and there has been times when we've used that and then the owners are like, I'm sick, I have a health condition, and I was falling over the dog, and I love him or her, but I can't do it anymore. And then we step in as a rescue and maybe go a different route. But yeah, so the craziest situation I've seen though is yeah, just dogs walking onto properties, and the people are like, well, we didn't want them to get hit by a car. So it's like, okay, well, that's yeah, you're right. So just don't be so quick to judge, I think, is our best advice and craziest scenario.
Now, we understand that, y'all have also been involved with advocacy, and, I did bring up the whole element of laws and ordinances and, for example, what's legal regarding tethering and what's legal regarding, shelter for a pet. And
Yeah.
what do you think folks need to know about that front? And, as it comes to maybe educating themselves, and also if maybe they don't agree with whatever policies they have in place in their city or wherever they live, how do they change that?
That's a great question as well, because a lot of people are like, well, who do I call? Where do I go? So for every, like you said, county, state, it's different. So that would be something you definitely just need to Google and figure out who is involved, who's looking over that. Do you have an animal control? A lot of times it's just calling your normal dispatch in your area and asking, and then staying on social media and seeing when there are like town hall meetings or anything like that. That is something me and Phoebe go to often, is just like listening and hearing those people out. But I will say it's more so a little bit out of Charlotte, and a lot of in those more rural areas, people look at animals as livestock, and that's something I'm really focusing on changing because livestock usually isn't chained. They have a field to, get the nutrients they need, pigs, cows, that sort of thing. But when you chain a dog to a fence post or a tree, I think it's different than livestock. Now, I don't believe that we should keep cows and donkeys in our home and let them sleep with us like our dogs do, Vanessa. But I do think there needs to be a hard line on like domesticated animals, and that's something that we have to work. You have to work within your area and your local law enforcement and leaders. And the best way to do that is by calling dispatch and seeing when the next meetings are and who do you call about welfare and neglect cases. Is there an animal control in your area?
Yeah. Claire Norris, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time to join us here on Live Impact. We'll remind folks this list of winter storm dog supply requests is actually on our website right now, but a quick peek once again. The other thing that we didn't mention, donations via Venmo at Two Girls Lots of Dogs is one way. And we also are hearing from other rescue groups in our area foster needs in case they do need to go and, rescue a dog amid the winter conditions. You can find all of that information on our website, wcnc.com. More on this topic, of course, to come. Claire, thank you again. We're going to take a quick break, back in 2 minutes with impacts to the roadways. We're talking South Carolina roads.